Good afternoon and welcome to a webinar from Linköping University. Today we are saying hello and welcome and congratulations to those of you admitted to one of our programs within social science or business. My name is Trish Winder. I'm going to guide you through this webinar, and if you've attended any of our webinars before, you probably know the drill by now. We'll talk for about 20 to 30 minutes and then we'll open up for questions from you guys. A few housekeeping things that we usually go through. This webinar is being recorded, so you can watch it at a later date. Also, you can ask questions, but we will answer them after we've had our conversation. And you ask them in the Q&A section. You can see below the screen there's chat and there's Q&A. Chat, you can say hello to each other, but the Q&A section is where we will answer your questions later on. And the aim of this webinar is to make you feel more prepared for the academic side of studying. So we will have another webinar on Monday at 4 o'clock where we're going to talk a bit more about the practical side of being a student here, how to get here, the facilities and student life and so on. But today we really want to prepare you for what it's like to study social sciences at Linköping University. Another thing that's really important that I mentioned at the beginning is we won't be able to answer any individual questions regarding your application. So if you have any individual questions, you do need to email us or contact us in other way. We're just going to be able to answer general questions. And we might not be able to answer all your questions as we finish in an hour. So if your questions aren't getting answered today, we'll do our best to answer them later on. That's all from me. I'm introducing my guests, or my guests can introduce themselves. Who would like to start?
Please.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Kwanza. I'm originally from Georgia in the Eastern Europe, and I study Ethnic and Migration Studies, or for short EMS, here at LiU, and it's my first year, so I'm finishing up my first year in the program.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alejandra León. I studied Science for Sustainable Development. I'm also in my first year, and I'm from Peru.
Hello from me too. My name is Kostas Mitropoulos and I work at the Faculty of Arts and Sciences. I'm international coordinator and I work with international students that may be exchange students or master students like you will be soon.
So you go-to man if you have any problems when you get here. Let's start with just very briefly, both of you. Why did you choose Linköping? Why did you come here?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I study under a master's program that is originally founded on the research lab, Remeso, and for me, Remeso was a big decision maker in the process. I had read some papers that were written by the professors that now I currently study under, so it's a huge plus, and that was a big decision for me. Aside from that, Sweden and Scandinavia was something that I really loved growing up, and now I'm making my dreams come true, basically, studying in Sweden.
Nice. That's nice. How about you? You've traveled across half the world.
Well, I have my background in mining engineering, and I wanted to shift my career path into more social and environmental science. That's why I chose Science for Sustainable Development, which is more like I would like to do that. And I chose LiU because for the first time that I saw the website within all the information that I found, it was really like the connection that I felt with the university, and I feel close even before applying. So that's why I chose LiU and Sweden, because it's the best option, at least for me, for the topic that I chose now.
Great. And now that you're here then, what is it like? Maybe you want to continue. What is it like in terms of, it must be very different from your mining engineering.
Yes, it is. But that's actually a perk because my whole program, it's based in transdisciplinary approach. So we are all from different backgrounds, from different countries, and it's really enrichful classroom with a lot of different opinions from different topics. So far it's been great. I like the student life as well here, and you get the opportunity to also enjoy not only the studies, but also the student life outside the university. So,
How about you? How are you finding it?
I agree partially with Alejandra. I am based in Norrköping, so it's a different campus than what Alejandra is used to. I agree in regards to diversity. Our program is quite diverse, and it's primarily an interdisciplinary program. So both academically and outside of the studies, it's a very interesting experience, especially somebody who's not from here. So I'm technically contributing to that diversity too, so it's interesting to relate to so many people from different areas. And considering the program that we study, which is ethnic and migration studies, it's beneficial to have such a diverse class, as well as the faculty too, because our faculty is also not just primarily Swedish, and it contributes a lot to what we study and how we study it, and then also how we engage with ourselves outside of the classroom. So.
And this is quite, I mean, for all our master's programs, it is a very diverse student body.
Yes, and that's the purpose, and I think that the university strives for this, to have a diverse group into the classroom. And apart from the core academic things that the master program gives, like knowledge or research tools, diversity and the cultural skills is part of the things that they will get out of the program. So it's really important, obviously, for the university itself, but I think it's a big plus and something that the students themselves demand and require from the university.
Thanks. What about if you look at the kind of the schedule that you have? I mean, social sciences here. How, I mean, is it a full-on schedule with lectures and seminars, or how would that, is there a normal day or a average day? No. Do you want to start?
Sure. So one thing that I find very helpful is that we obviously get the course information at the beginning of when we start the subject, and then very little changes throughout those 5 weeks that we go through this course. So it's very helpful for me it helps me to plan, and it helps me to be prepared for what's to come. And what's to come is usually we have a mix of seminars and lectures, and then we will have something that is called an advanced seminar, which is a mix of the two. So those of you who are used to lecture where the lecturer talks, that can happen here, but it's not as common as I'm used to from back home. Seminars are usually some things that we have to be prepared for in advance in terms of the readings, have like bringing our questions and observations on what we have read. Outside of the class, of course, we do a lot of the reading on our own, but then there are a certain number of group works or larger works that we have to do in the larger group. But maybe we can talk about that a bit later.
Have you got the same experience?
kind of the same. We also have lectures and seminars. And we also have to be prepared beforehand for the seminars in order to bring discussion during the sessions itself.
So you end up with kind of student, not student-led teaching, but in a way, you share your knowledge.
Exactly.
And
yes.
then you take on board. How do you find that? I mean, what's the kind of upside and what's the challenges with that?
I think the main challenge is, first of all, manage your time in order to be prepared for the readings for the seminars and all the workload that you have besides seminars and lectures. It might be individual assignments or work group, but within the seminars that you have to discuss about something with people that are from different backgrounds, from different cultures, it might be quite interesting to just broad up discussions about different topics, and that could be a challenge for some people that might not be used to accept different type of ideas maybe, but it's enrichful if you're in an intercultural environment within the classroom.
But you're expected to contribute quite a lot, so it's not as much you sitting there and listening to somebody, so you can't really, and the same thing with group work, you do that very much together. It's not something where you kind of, it's not the easy option necessarily, or... Would you want to tell us a bit more about group work?
Definitely not. What I have found under our program, and maybe Alejandra has a different experience, we started out more individually, at least throughout the first two subjects that we covered. But then going forward, we've had more and more group work as we go deeper into the program. And it comes with its own challenges and, of course, benefits. It can be complicated depending on the group that you're in, and you don't always get to choose the group that you're in. Of course, sometimes you're assigned a group. So in a way, it also helps you improve your interpersonal skills in the way that a lot of the cultural aspects also play a role when it comes to the group work. As we both mentioned, the classes are pretty diverse, and of course, cultural aspects play a big role when we have to work together and plan something together, and cultures can be very different, so it sort of makes us grow in that way as well, not just the academic, but also into relationships with each other and how we plan things together coming from very different backgrounds culturally.
What challenges have you seen? Kind of common challenges, or what's your feedback been on this kind of quite heavy focus on group work, even for exams?
That's true, and there are challenges. To begin with, in many academic cultures, this is not a very usual, a very common way to work at the university. So coming here and having this structure where group work is integrated in literally every course and every seminar or every lecture that you will take, it can be a challenge for people that are used to work more independently. Then the cultural part is a big challenge too, that to learn how to respond and to take in other people's ideas that not necessarily agree with your ideas or your principles is a big step to grow as a person and as an academic as well. And it's a huge lesson that people can take out of this experience. Then I think that there are problems when the group doesn't get along, when the group cannot work well together. And this is a challenge, again, that students need to take and somehow try to solve it out among them. It's not that teachers won't help, they will help. But I think that the solution is much more meaningful and much better when it comes from them. So it's great people coming here to have this in mind, that this is a skill they will need to develop, to negotiate, set rules, and work together. And that's a skill that they will be able to take with them in their future workplaces too.
Because it is central to a workplace, working together with other people. And it's also this kind of, you're expected to challenge. I think that's also really important, because a lot of students who arrive, they're used to just kind of making notes of what the lecture says, and then you follow that. Was that something you noticed when you came here?
Yes, definitely. When I first came here, I didn't know that the courses that I was about to take were only 5 weeks. At least in my program, it's just one course per 5 weeks. And then you have the opportunity to focus on it. And then you will think, oh, I will have a lot of free time because I will only have 3 lectures per week. But then you have to manage your time for reading, for the seminars, for the lectures, for your individual assignments, for the work group. So it's a lot going on, and it can be overwhelming at the beginning, but then you can manage afterwards because you get used to it. And actually, if you actually enjoy the program and what you're studying, then you will enjoy the work group and even your individual part playing a role within the group work and within the seminars and the discussions going on.
I think this is a really important thing that you mentioned. I think a lot of people come from a system where you do maybe 4 courses over the year, and then you do those 4 courses in parallel, and then you have end of year exams. That is not the case. You have, is it 5 weeks for each one, or how?
Yes, I would say it's 5 weeks on average for each class. So I think if I go back to my previous classes that we covered, we have about 4 weeks of studies, and then we have around a week, maybe 10 days, that is semi-free for us to write the final paper, but that's specifically for ethnic and migration studies because, of course, it's a very theoretical class. Therefore, our assignment is to, in a way, produce paper. But it might be a bit different for different programs, but generally it's about 5 weeks per subject.
It's kind of the same for me, like 5 weeks per course. And we also produce papers, but also we work within the group projects. So we have the opportunity to analyze projects within specific regions if you want to focus on a resource, a challenge, or a company. So it's more of what the course entails.
So you do a course and say they're 5 weeks, so you end up doing, say, 4 courses in one semester. Is that kind of common for?
If I may add to this, it is a common structure, but it's good to keep in mind that there are programs that have 15 ECTS courses, which is 10 weeks long. But it's the same idea, that it's a full-time course. They focus only on that course and nothing else. And in the end, is, as you say, they produce some kind of text assignment and so on. And then I think that there are very few programs that have smaller courses, 6 ECTS, which is 4 weeks, or they may not be what we call full-time. They may run in parallel with other courses. But I think that it's only one program, the statistics and machine learning program, that has this kind of setup. Otherwise, it's exactly as they said, the student said, it's 5 weeks usually, and it goes like this until the end of the semester. And I may add that my feedback, at least from students, what I've got, it takes a bit for the students to adjust to the new system, but in the end they appreciate it because they don't have to go through the pain of the examination period or the exam period in the end of the semester. And it helps them allocate the work much more efficiently, focus, and then they don't need to stress about studying a lot of courses in parallel.
Right. I'd like to hear a bit more about this, but before, just a question, kind of exam. You said exams. So do you have written exams, or do you, as you just mentioned, you have papers? So is there a mix, or?
We have, in my class, we have found that it depends on the class. At the beginning, we only had written papers at the end of each class. So I think at least the first 2 subjects, that's how we concluded them. Going farther into the program, now we also do presentations. We do, right now, for example, I'm taking a class where I have to, on top of the individual paper, I also have to do a group work and produce paper based on the work that we do together. So I think farther we go into the program, more diverse the assignments become, and there are various ways to assess and give us the final grade at the end of the 5-week mark.
How about for your program?
In my case, we had individual assignments as well, group work, and even exams, like written exams.
Traditional written exams.
Exactly, but it was just one course so far, because we have this mixture in between social science and environmental science, and we usually have laboratories as well. So it can become more practical the way we are examined. So that's why we have written exam. But we also have the presentations, and that's from the beginning. We have to write the individual assignment and to present to the class. And then we have the opposition from another student to get the questions, and then we examine another paper from another classmate, and we get to ask questions as well. So it starts a conversation between.
So you start kind of that early in
Yes.
the course, kind of preparing for, further kind of academia, the academic way of.
That's actually the way we are evaluated within the thesis work, I
Yeah.
think. So we're doing that even from the beginning. The first course we had that in the individual assignment, we have to oppose to another person's paper.
Okay. Yeah. So in general, I mean, is this kind of what's common for most programs, or?
Yes, at the master level, it's not that common to have the traditional written exams, and take-home exams or assignments are deemed to be much more meaningful at that level. They prepare the students for further research in case they want to go further with it, but at the same time, it makes them think and reflect deeply on what they've read during the course, and then it makes them look for further information and go even deeper. And I think that's an important point that causes some frustration with new international students. It is very common that you're not given a subject for an assignment, that you have to come up with the subject yourself and the research questions yourself. So this is a very valuable exercise, obviously, because this will end up in the master thesis, but at the same time it increases the ownership of the examination. It's not something that someone told you to write, it's something that you're interested in and you want to write about. And it can be both frustrating and challenging, but very, very meaningful and very, very fruitful as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can see the benefits of having a 5-week courses, or shorter or longer, but having a contained session for each course. But you kind of touched upon oh, it looks nice. I only have a few lectures and seminars. I mean, how have you managed this? Have you got any tips for the planning and also there's the self-study that's required? How I know a lot of students find it really kind of difficult to begin with, but do you have any tips or reflections?
Yes, actually, and I think it depends individually where people are coming from. I think those who have more work experience might find it a bit easier, because even when you look at the official program pages, it says that it's a full-time master's program, at least for the ethnic and migration studies, that's what it says. So if you treat it as this 40-hour per week at least responsibility that you have, then you can use your calendar or your planner, whatever is helpful for you in the previous experiences, and just outline the hours of what are you going to dedicate to what. And I don't know about Alejandra, but I came from the system that did not have 5 weeks per subject. I was in academia, I was used to 4 or 5 classes per semester, and then we would struggle, as Kostas mentioned, with 4 papers to write at the end of it. So for me, in the beginning, I thought I had a lot more time, but then looking into the amounts of readings, and then on top of that, having to write at least a 10-page long paper, it became very obvious from the beginning that I had to put my time into certain brackets, otherwise it would be impossible to do so. And another tip, I guess, that I can give, and maybe it's also similar for you, is to use the university spaces. I find that going to the library, I'm a lot more productive, I get more done. Being around my friends who are also in the library doing the same thing is a lot easier to get everything done that we have to get done by the end of the week than by staying in the house or maybe going to a coffee place, which some people do at the beginning, or in the park when the weather is nice. But
yeah, it's quite the same for me. I might say that from the beginning, I think that you have to have in mind that it will be like a full-time program. So you have to accommodate your time for at least 8 hours per day, for 40 hours per week. So in the beginning, it can be overwhelming. It was for me. I didn't know how much was the workload regarding the readings that we have to do. And the whole system that is totally different from what I'm come from. So I think that keeping in mind from the beginning that you will be challenged towards your time management and how you develop your schedule, like not only for the university, but of course you have to have time for yourself as well. So it's going to be a good idea if you plan ahead. How are you going to schedule all your workload within the university and within yourself as well?
I think that's a really good point of starting, doing this from the start, because I've spoken to many other students, and some have said, you come here and it's lots of fun, and we haven't actually mentioned anything about the first few days or weeks, but there's a lot of activities, there's a lot of fun stuff going on, and you kind of, and especially if your schedule doesn't look that full, you kind of think, I'll go out instead and make new friends, and I think it's easy to end up kind of getting behind with your coursework. especially if you only have 5 weeks to do a course. So I think this is, really important. And if this happens, that you do you're not used to the system, you're having a bit too much fun, is there help and support?
Well, to begin with, it's good if you don't end up in this situation. And I would say that they need to be very careful in regard to the first course, when they don't know how it works and there's a lot going on, much fun as well. So it's good to keep in mind that, but I need to catch up and I need to be consistent here. If something goes wrong, because there are such cases, and we're humans.
It's human, exactly.
Then yes, of course there is support. To begin with, I would say that the first point of contact is the teachers themselves and the course coordinators. They're always supportive, and they try to find solutions, and they try to help students. And they're very approachable too. I think that you will go into this later, but there is this informal mentality, this informal culture in the university and Sweden in general that helps a lot this kind of discussions. Then there are study counsellors as well. Each program has its own study counsellor, and they're there exactly for this kind of work and this kind of cases. Whenever a student has a problem with a course, they can refer to them and they can try to work out a solution, or get even advice, or try to figure out what went wrong, which is equally important.
So there is support. But this is also a reason, especially this first course, is why there is a mandatory roll call. So this is really, really important. Have a look on the LiU/admitted pages, and you'll find kind of near the top, find your program, and you select your program and you'll find the date. And you really have to be here. You don't get any exemptions really. So you need to be here, and it's not just because we're rigid. It is because students who in the past, when it was more flexible, came a couple of weeks later, they've missed half a course, and there is no way of catching up. So this roll call is really, really important.
And I can't stress enough exactly what you said, that there are no exceptions. Students need to make it to the roll call. They need to be here.
So look it up. Find the date and time. We're going to move over to questions soon. But you talked about this, the informal structure. Was that new to you?
Yes, very new.
How is it? What is it like? How is it informal?
The approach that you have with the teachers, at least from my perspective in Peru, we refer to the teachers as professor or by their last names, or it's like a more formal way of approaching someone. But here is like a more friendly relationship. You call them by their names, and you have this freedom of actually feel comfortable by asking questions and approaching to them whenever you have a doubt about the course or about the program itself. So it's really helpful, but completely different from what I'm used to. But it's really helpful at the end for about how do you feel within the studies. So I really like it when I came here and I realized it was like that.
And you're supposed to challenge or question. You're
Yes.
supposed to. That's how you learn.
Yes, and they're very open towards it, which is something was a bit unexpected for me. It's something, as you mentioned, it's something that should be like that, but it's not everywhere, of course. But it's very refreshing, and I think it also takes a bit of a pressure from the student to present in a certain way or to have a specific type of opinion. And the informality also, at least for me, it gave me a certain validity that there wasn't a huge power dynamic between me and the lecturer, and I could ask questions, and I could also criticize their opinion if I didn't necessarily agree with it. And for someone who is interested to go into academia down the road, that is something that really gives you that validity and gives you an opportunity to explore yourself farther and explore your thoughts, rather than to just stay in a specific box, which I found incredibly helpful and very refreshing in many ways.
It's a very non-hierarchical kind
Yes,
of culture in that
definitely.
sense. One last question before we're going to open up for your questions. Kostas, what do we, what do we expect of our students?
Well, a number of things. To begin with, we expect commitment. So we talked about the workload, we talked about that they need to regulate and manage their time, so this takes a lot of commitment. And this takes a lot of responsibility and maturity as well. And I get that some students are quite young, maybe they haven't reached that level of maturity, but this is a way and an opportunity for them to grow. So commitment, they need to be committed to what they do, and they need to take it seriously and be persistent. Then respect is one thing, important thing, because they will function, they will be in a multicultural environment, so they need to learn this, they need to respect each other's ideas, each other's principles and personalities.
And I think that's, sorry to interrupt, but when you talk about the kind of the openness between your teachers, I think that's also about respect. So,
yes.
First name, but it's still a respectful relationship.
Obviously, and the informal structure doesn't change the fact that they're still the teachers and you're still the students, so you're still expected to deliver. You may question, because this is good academia, this is how academia goes ahead, but you still need to deliver in time. And those are, I would say, the most important things. And then I think that's something that permeates the whole of Swedish society. It's personal responsibility. That no one will take you by the hand to show you anything or to tell you how to do it. It's things that you need to figure out yourself, and you need to take the responsibility for this. Resources are there, help is there, but this personal responsibility needs always to be there with the student, and they need to be prepared for it and aware of it.
I think that's really really important points and really good points. I'm gonna open up for questions, and then I'm gonna do a quick kind of refresher in a bit of some of the key dates that you need to remember. Let's have a look. Somebody would like to know when the seminars and lectures take place in terms of time. Morning, afternoon, both? What is it like?
For us, at least, it's mostly in the first half of the day. So I think latest that we have finished is probably around 3. Lectures are usually around 3 hours. Seminars are usually around 2 hours on average, with a little break in between the 2 sessions, of course. That's it.
Same with me too. Yeah. 2 hours lectures, tops, and then 2 hour seminars. Yeah, but that's the same.
Is that generally?
In general, yes. I would say that classes can take place between 8 and 5, so it's office hours. But as you said, it's rather much more likely to happen between 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. And then how many hours of lectures and seminars depends a bit on the program and the schedule and the classrooms too. So it wouldn't be strange if some programs have 2 lectures back to back, so 4 hours of lecture in total. It can happen.
Okay, well, I hope that answered the question. The next question here is, what is the real deadline for paying the fee? As LiU mentioned, 1st of June, but we need the final admission letter to upload in the VFS office and apply for a student visa. The deadline is 1st of June. There was a mistake on the admissions page at university admissions. There was a message that talked about tuition fees, and it said 10 days. Please ignore that. It should be gone now. Shouldn't be there. The deadline is 1st of June. We do recommend that you apply or that you do it earlier though, because as soon as you've paid the tuition fee, you can start applying for a residence permit. And the sooner you have that done, the better. And the reason the deadline is 1st of June is because you need that time to get your residence permit for the start of your program, so for the roll call. So again, there is a reason for this date. Right, we have a next question is, will Linköping University be holding a welcome orientation event for new students in the first week? This is brilliant. See, this is what I was going to mention. Yes, there will be a welcome to LiU information session. The first half of it is digital, so you can find that online. So if you go to liu.sc/admitted, a bit further down the page, you'll find information. It'll take you to welcome to LiU. And there's lots of information there about things you need to prepare, or accommodation, etc. But you'll find this information, and that's part 1. Part 2 is on the 18th of August between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. And that's for the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, it's for the Faculty of Educational Sciences, and actually also for the Faculty of Medical Sciences. And on this Welcome to LiU page, you can find which faculty your program belongs to. So 18th of August, there are also arrival days that are worth noting. Those are 2nd of August, 15th and 16th of August, and 22nd and 23rd of August. And during the arrival days, the international office is open between 11 and 8 in the evening. There's also a free shuttle service between the local airport, so Linköping Airport, and the train station. So the shuttle service will take you to campus Valla, where you can register and meet the international office staff. There's also going to be free transport to your accommodation from campus Valla. So try and arrive on one of the arrival days. So, but the welcome one is 18th of August. Somebody is asking, if I'm interested in other courses, in other programs while studying, can I take them as elective courses, or is there a mechanism to change my major stroke program? Kostas.
That's a good question and a very complicated one. Well, depends on the program and the program coordinator. Some program coordinators, yes, allow students to take courses outside the program and they get them recognized. So it always needs to be recognized. That's one principle. Then it depends on where the other course will be. If it's in Linköping University, another program in Linköping University, and the student meets the entry requirements and can be admitted, maybe it's easier. Otherwise, if it's in another university, which is an option of course, within Sweden, they need to go through university admissions and apply for the course and get admitted and then get it recognized here.
Okay, so it's basically they need to talk to their program coordinator.
Exactly. They need to work and consult with the program coordinator.
Yeah, to make sure that that it's not kind of wasted time, so that you can actually make sure that these points, the credits that you get, are recognized. Thank you. Somebody is asking, is there a way to connect with other students before starting? Yes, follow our Instagram account, Linköping University. Last summer we had speed dating. Did you do that? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, it is speed dating, and I don't mean speed dating as in you find a partner. That it is actually kind of meeting friends.
For your program, I think you can put which program are you in, and they will form a group where you are with people from the same program, and you have the opportunity to talk with them and to meet them even before coming here. So I think for me it was super helpful before coming.
Same with us. My class actually had a group chat starting, I think, May. So we had months of texting before anybody got here in August. So it was really helpful because by the time we arrived here, we didn't feel as lonely as sometimes people do in the first weeks. And we sort of helped each other move. Some people met each other on the train station. So definitely recommend it.
Okay. And then, but you found yours through?
LiU Instagram page.
So it was the Instagram,
Yes.
same thing,
Yes.
Instagram
Yeah.
page. Yeah, so follow the Instagram page. And our Instagram page is actually run by students. Well, we're involved as well, but it's run by students in the sense that it's their daily lives. So everybody has, or the students who help us with this, they have a week each, and then they show you their lives really. So if you really want to get a good insight into what it's like here, have a look at our Instagram account and also LiU International Students blog. There's again lots of information there that the students, they've all done what you're about to do. So lots of useful information there. Right, is there a possibility to receive a scholarship for the living costs from the university itself or the Swedish government? Not from the university. There are scholarships, and the application period is now 7th till the 10th. So it closes on Sunday. It is open to fee-paying students because it's a tuition fee waiver. So it covers usually between 25 and 75% of the tuition fee. There's only 1 or 2 for each program, not necessarily for all programs either. And you need to have applied on time and selected the program as your first priority. So it is quite. It's not open. There's nothing for EU students, as they're not fee-paying students. From the Swedish government, the Swedish Institute has a limited number of scholarships, or they're limited numbers, of course, but also for limited number of countries. So some countries are eligible to apply for scholarships through the Swedish Institute. I think it's called Global Professionals. Yeah. But I don't know when the application period, if it's closed. It's closed. I'm glad it's usually February, so it's closed. And that's a really good scholarship. I mean, that's full tuition and cost of living. But apart from that, there is nothing I'm aware of. No. Right, and this is the last question we answered already. I'd like to hear a bit more from you guys about the first kind of honeymoon when you get to a new university and it's like, oh, this is so much fun, it's great, and then you kind of settle in, and then there's a thing called winter happens. What is it like? I mean, what did you think?
I think Swedish winter is still happening because it's snowing.
Have you not seen all our promotional materials? They're sunny and green.
I think, a lot of people around me, and myself included, we went through the traditional cultural adjustment curve where everything was very exciting at the beginning, the town, the grocery stores, the nature, the parks, and then we went downhills from there in a way that we started getting, everything was familiar at a certain point, and that excitement of finding new things was really wearing off because there was very little that we could find. But I think that's the time when friends really help. And at least me and my friend group that I have here, we really made an effort to stick together and try to do things together, at least just to see each other. It's really easy to just stay inside during Swedish winter, I think, because it gets very cozy inside and it gets very dark outside. But it's very helpful to have people that you can depend on and to get yourself involved in activities that you enjoy, whether it's gym or taking Swedish classes maybe, or just going for occasional walks. Those were things that really helped me and my friends here. And then coming out of the winter now, we feel much better, and I think all of us are more prepared for the next winter. But it definitely is an experience. It's something that you need to experience.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell about it if you're not here in a way. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's quite similar, and I think it's more of getting out of your comfort zone as well. Like for me, it was completely different because I was not used to that kind of cold weather at all. No. But what helped me was to get involved into more students' activities, not only within the university, because it was, of course, focus on your studies, it's important, but it's also important, as I mentioned before, to help or to focus on yourself as well, having time for you. And I got involved into Students' Association. and that helped me. And there are a lot of students associations that arrange activities throughout the semester for students to cope with the student life here and the weather and everything else. So I think everything is good for you as a student, as a new student as well, to just go in with the student life.
Yeah.
So I don't think it will be a problem to adjust easily if you go out of your comfort zone and if you are willing to actually experience the Swedish way.
I mean, you've lived here. You're not from here either, and you've lived here a long time. It is not that bad, is it?
Well, I come from the south, so it was a huge difference for me too. Look, and that's a personal thing, obviously, and different people experience this in a different way. I can't say that I faced that much of a problem. Obviously, cold, and not only cold, but cold for that long, it's not nice. I have to admit that it's not nice. The darkness that affects a lot of people does not affect me. I don't feel that bad about it. I think that what people need to focus on is the difference and the change, which is quite big in Sweden. So you go from December being completely dark to end of February, March, already realizing, oh, this is different, this is changing now. And this lifts you up immediately. So that's one thing that they need to focus, that they need to know that this is temporary, not permanent, although it looks like permanent. Then I agree with what Jutta said. It's important to keep yourself busy even during the winter. Student organizations is a great way to meet people, to do stuff, and to discover new stuff as well, to keep discovering new stuff. And then, don't fall into the trap of staying in home just because it's cold outside. Even cold, even rain, snow, much more, gives a lot of opportunities for fun and for nice activities too.
And
so
as my mother always said, there's no bad weather, only bad clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
All moms say that. but I think it's worth mentioning. I think it's quite cozy, because you have summer and it's light, and it's kind of, I lived away from Sweden for quite a while, even though I'm from here. And I'd forgotten the light summer nights when you're outside at 11 and you can still sit outside and read a book. You don't need a lamp. And that's kind of, but then,
But you need a jacket.
No, you get used to it. No. Don't listen to the man from Southern Europe. But it's kind of, you still have the light, and then you kind of, autumn comes and you kind of, you get the nice colors, and then I like kind of Christmas time because it's really cozy and there's lots of lights and there's lots of this fika, and you kind of, I think we've created this culture around coziness and comfort food and fika, just because it is quite dark and it is, it feels like it might not end, but it will end. It will end. The next question, could you please talk about how Swedish language is needed, and could we find some general jobs with English knowledge only? So, do you speak Swedish?
Nej.
So you're learning a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, but you don't need it.
No.
Not in the classes. I mean, for the international master's programs, it's all in English. So I haven't found that I need Swedish for my studies. Outside of the university, I think that's a different conversation.
But I think it's also easy to just go around with English as well. Like, you don't actually need Swedish because most of the people here speaks really good English, so you will get going just with English. But I think for the job market it might be different. If you're planning to stay here afterwards, might be easy to find a job if you know Swedish. But it's
because you've learned Swedish to be able to work in.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a very important point, that one, that if students are looking to stay and get a job here in Sweden, learning the language is a must. Depends a bit on the discipline and the kind of work you're looking for, but learning Swedish increases someone's odds by a lot, I would say. So this is an important point there. But otherwise, as a student, I agree that when it comes to university, English is spoken, so there's no need there. And even in daily life, most people speak at a very good level, at a decent level at least. And you can access all services in English too. For example, doctors, healthcare system, all those kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
They have their services in English too.
So it's kind of, you don't need to learn Swedish. And if you wanted to find a part-time job, that is quite difficult. I mean, not only will your studies, as you've heard, it requires full-time work, pretty much 40 hours. So you don't want to be tied up in doing, having work commitments at certain times because it might not fit with your schedule. But it is also quite difficult to find part-time jobs, and is even more difficult if you don't speak Swedish. So it's not something, if you find something that you can do, for a few hours and that's very flexible, you've done really well. But it's not something you can kind of bank on surviving, on having to rely on a part-time job. How does it work if they want to follow a Swedish course? Are there limited places, or is anyone offered a place in a course? Are there different levels if I've already started learning Swedish? That's another question. So how are you learning Swedish?
I'm actually taking classes at a local NGO. Well, it's not an NGO. I'm taking classes at the ABF, which is, I think, a state or municipality-funded local organization. And they have volunteers who give Swedish classes, and we have a wonderful person who's giving us classes on a weekly basis. And that's what a lot of me and my classmates are doing. There are, of course, different options, such as SFI, for example, which is more state-run, and then university also has Swedish classes. Yeah.
In my case, I'm in SF5, but for that you need like a personal number, I think. So it could be afterwards.
And a personal number, if you're here for a 2-year program, you can apply for a personal number, and you should do that kind of as soon as you get here. Go to the tax office and apply for a personal number. If you're here for a 1-year program, it becomes a bit harder. But 2-year programs, definitely go and get your personal number. But we do have a Swedish course as well.
Yes, that's true. We have Swedish courses that start from A1 level, so beginner's level, and then they go up to B1-1, almost B2. They run throughout the semester. They're part-time, so lower workload, so they can be combined with the rest of the study plan. But what students need to keep in mind here is that fee-paying students, this is on top of their fees. So in that case, I think that SFI comes in handy because it's for free. If they get the personal number, then you can study there for free. And it's a very good option.
That's a good option to remember. Thank you. Somebody is wondering, does the university have an office that we can consult for job opportunities during the study, if it's necessary? No, we don't have a part-time work kind of agency, or whatever I would call it. We don't have any way of facilitating that. In terms of advice for later on, so career service, we don't have a central career service, but do the programs offer anything?
Obviously, the study counsellor can help. This depends a bit on the program and on the study counsellor, but they are there to offer some kind of guidance and advice when it comes to employment opportunities. And then, as far as I know, the International Office has a program regarding employment after studies, but this is, usually they select a limited number of students. It's not an open employability office. It's like a program that tries to give them the basics when it comes to the Swedish labour market.
The student unions can be helpful. There are job fairs, I think, review.
Yeah, and I think there is a website with LiU Career Gate where
Yes,
where you
that's true.
can find a lot of job opportunities, internships, a lot of options there.
So LiU Career Gate is basically it is a gateway to finding opportunities, but there is not a person there who will be able to help you and support you. So those are the options that we have. I think we've run out of questions. I'd like to just kind of highlight what we've mentioned before, but check out our Instagram account. I can't emphasize this enough, but the Instagram, which is Linköping University, follow, and if you haven't already, the blog, so International Program Students at LiU. Again, really good source of information. And on Instagram, you can ask questions, and if the student who has the account that week can't answer it, they've got friends and they'll pass your question on. There's also Facebook, Linköping University. So again, if you ask questions through Facebook, it'll come through to us, the members of staff. And the best way to get an answer from us is to reply to something that you have already received. So the invite for this, for example, if you just hit reply, you'll get through to us in the quickest way. We have a few more questions that just appeared. If when admitted for a one-year program, is it possible to secure another program before the end of the one-year course? You can apply for another program, but you would do that just like you applied for the one-year program. So it's not like you do one program and then you'll automatically get onto another program.
No, it's everything goes through university admissions.
Yeah.
It can't go through the university.
Yeah. So, and I think, but some of the one-year programs can also be a two-year program. And do you remember which ones?
There is Applied Ethics, which is a one-year program.
Yeah.
And then there are the two online programs that we have, Gender Studies and Intersectionality, that can be either 2 or 1 year.
Yeah.
And Child Studies, which is the same thing, either 2 or 1.
So child and gender can be two-year programs. But with the distance programs, you won't get a residence permit. You won't be able to apply for a residence permit. So if you want to move here and you've been admitted to a distance program, you need to be an EU citizen. Right, somebody is actually wondering what's the COVID situation right now in Sweden. Forgotten about. No, not really, but it's very strange. It was this kind of massive thing, and now we're here again, and there are no restrictions anymore.
Yeah, and the official line of the university is that restrictions have been lifted, and this is not the university's decision, that was the government's decision, so we just followed. And the autumn semester is expected to start as it did before the pandemic. And I would say that right now in the society and the university, everything is post-pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That there's nothing that reminds the pandemic.
No,
actually,
it's quite strange, but we do have a very high level of vaccination coverage in Sweden. I think we're first dose, I think this close to 90%, 85 or something like that. So that helps. And I mean, the virus is still there, and people get corona. I mean, I've had it. I'm not sure, maybe you've had it. Yeah, you've had it, and lots of my colleagues have had it, but it was the flu. I mean, and that's because, I'm vaccinated.
Exactly,
yeah.
And it's good to know that Sweden offers the vaccine for free.
And on campus. Yesterday they were on campus. Yeah. On both Norrköping. Yeah. Because we haven't mentioned this actually, but you're based on Linköping campus, Campus Valla, and you're in Norrköping.
I'm in Norrköping.
Yeah. Have you got any experience of both campuses or both towns? I mean, can you compare?
I mean, sometimes we come to the Campus Valla in Linköping, but I think Norrköping people like to stay in Norrköping. We like Norrköping a lot.
I think it's the same for us. We don't go as much as we could like to Norrköping, but it is what it is. We just go and come back if we want to, because there is a LiU bus that we can take for free. so it's easy to commute between Norrköping and Linköping.
Yeah, and there's a really nice and comfortable coach, and it goes between the two campuses and the University Hospital campus, which you also have, which is nearer the centre of Linköping, and it's free for students. So if you have a lecture, some of the programs, any programs here, have they got both campuses?
No, when it comes to the Faculty of Arts and Sciences, no.
No. So they're only here. But if you want to go to Norrköping, which you should, because it is beautiful. It's beautiful. They have kind of the water in the centre.
Maybe I misunderstood here. We don't have any in the hospital campus. And
Oh no. But in
Norrköping we have ethnic and migration studies, obviously, computational and social sciences, and the new program that starts now. Aging and social change.
Yeah, but do the programs have classes on both campuses?
No, they have only in Norrköping.
So they're only in Norrköping, and the ones in Linköping are only in Linköping. But it's still something that you should explore, and it's free, and it leaves from Campus Valla and it goes into the centre of Norrköping, I think.
Yes, I mean a little off from the center, but it's small, so it's very close. But one thing though, for the programs that have elective courses, there is a chance for somebody from a Norrköping campus, for example, to choose something that is that technically is taught in Linköping. So they would have to commute, and we've had people in the second year who have done that, and it has been quite successful because there is also, of course, the train that runs between the two towns, but LiU bus is
it's
very
comfortable, and and if you wanted to get the train, you would have to go into town, and it is actually it's a nice option. And I think we're going to ask the last question. Does LiU have a PhD program in ethnic and migration studies that they can get on? PhD studies in Sweden, it's not a course that you apply to and then you pay tuition fees. It's a job. So you need to, then there needs to be a vacancy, and the vacancy is advertised and you apply for it. And then you will get paid. So it's a job. But I think quite a few people from your program do end up doing PhD studies.
Yes, but they do PhD in Remesso or under Remesso as the research lab. So they technically would put out the announcement. Remesso would put out an announcement, and they would apply to that. I think there were 2 positions that were recently open, if I'm not mistaken.
And Remesso stands for?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I mean, I think we're Swedish.
There is for Research Center for Ethnicity, Migration, and Society.
And society. Thank you. So it's kind of the research. I mean, that's the benefit, because a few of our programs are connected with research areas. So you get an insight there.
And when it comes to Remesso, they're very strong research environment, and they always have a PhD position, always. I mean, it's very often that they have a PhD position open. But obviously they need to apply, and obviously there's quite a lot of competition.
Yeah, because you earn money that you can actually get by, properly get by. It's not just pocket money. We've got to go. Thank you so much for having joined us. Few tips. I really, I keep repeating myself, but blog, Instagram, Facebook, but also the Fika with Us podcast. It's called Fika with Us, so Google it. It's students talking about various topics. Again, really useful. And then don't forget the admitted pages, and don't forget your program pages. So as I said, this will have been recorded, so you can view it again. But for now, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Bye.